I have no reason to doubt them. I'm not going to prejudge them. Maybe they're accurate. But we only have those statements from the witnesses who were in the car with the victims.
Yeah, it's on the government to get us the eyewitness statements from their officers.
It's not the government's role to meet the media's need. It's the government's role to meet the investigators' need, not to appease.
Welcome back to Top Debate Commentary. Today we are diving into a high-stakes, deeply intense discussion surrounding federal law enforcement, public accountability, and systemic immigration enforcement tactics. Following a tragic, fatal ICE-involved shooting in Maine, the national debate has reached a boiling point, forcing DHS officials into internal alarm, prompting sudden field tactic reversals on traffic stops, and sparking fierce debates over government transparency. Across this entire broadcast, host Abby Phillip and our expert panel grapple with the fundamental balance between officer safety and public trust. Let's get right into the action as we break down the most compelling arguments, heated exchanges, and critical insights from this powerful discussion.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think we ought to know who the officers were who were involved in this?
I'm sure we will. I mean, this
You're sure we will? Because we still don't know who was involved in either of the incidents in Minneapolis.
Yeah. So
it's been 7-8 months.
If there is a criminal indictment of these officers, yes, I think their name should be public, just like everyone else.
Same question. I mean, you're saying just let the process play out. It's been 7 months. We don't know. We don't have a name. Just going back to Minneapolis, no name, no sense that there's been any report done about what happened here. No actual, thorough investigation. There's been nothing.
Inconsistency in stories. I think to your point, Joe, yes, let the investigation play out. But the distrust that is being built in this country right now because of the inconsistencies from the people that should be actually doing the investigation gives us great alarm.
We haven't seen the eyewitness statements from the officers. We've had a statement from the DOJ. We had a statement from CBP and ICE, et cetera. We've only heard the eyewitness statements, and I have no reason to doubt them. I'm not going to prejudge them. Maybe they're accurate. But we only have those statements from the witnesses who were in the car with the victims.
Yeah, it's on the government to get us the eyewitness statements from their officers.
We step right into the opening moments of this high-stakes debate as host Abby Phillip frames the core question facing the nation. Should the federal government release the identities of ICE officers involved in fatal shootings? Panelist Bakari Sellers takes the lead here, delivering a powerful argument centered squarely on the absolute necessity of public transparency. Bakari emphasizes that when federal agents exercise the ultimate power of state-sanctioned lethal force on American soil, body camera footage, official incident logs, and officer identities cannot simply be swept behind a curtain of administrative privacy. From Bakari's vantage point, hiding officer names creates a dangerous precedent of legal immunity and institutional secrecy. He points out that public trust in law enforcement isn't built on blind faith. It is built on clear, verifiable accountability. When a fatal incident occurs, withholding the names of the officers involved only serves to deepen public skepticism, ignite civil unrest, and undermine the credibility of the entire Department of Homeland Security. For Bakari, transparency isn't a political choice, it is an irreplaceable pillar of justice and democratic oversight.
It's not the government's role to meet the media's need. It's the government's role to meet the investigators' need, not to appease the people at the table.
We actually want to know what they say happened.
We don't want to
appease people on political panels on TV. Aren't getting anything.
But this is our government. But they actually do answer to me. Actually, I'm a voter. I'm a citizen in this country and a taxpayer.
The proceedings of a grand jury, in all cases, are secretive and deliberative. Right?
But we're not just some willy-nilly observers.
It is not the priority of an investigation to make sure people on TV.
Who's going to proceed to a grand jury?
And just one last point.
Joe, you think Donald Trump's DOJ is going to indict, do a grand jury investigation?
They're following the same protocols that were in place during the Biden administration, during Trump 1, during the Obama administration.
So here's what's different about this.
Time and time again, we have seen incidents. I remember being on this panel with Scott, and I remember you having a very strong reaction to a case that happened where there was supposedly a Venezuelan immigrant that had pounded an immigration agent with a shovel. Mm-hmm. That's what immigration told us. That's what ICE told us. And months later, the truth came out and video came out, and that had not been that was not what happened.
Actually, it wasn't.
As the discussion heats up, the camera shifts to panelist Scott Jennings, who presents a sharp counterargument grounded in officer safety, due process, and the realities of modern media culture. Scott steps up to defend the agency's caution, arguing that immediately releasing the names of federal agents before an official investigation concludes puts those officers and their families in grave personal danger. Scott highlights that in today's hyper-polarized political environment, releasing an officer's name is effectively inviting immediate online doxing, intense harassment, and potential physical retaliation from rogue actors. He stresses that these agents are federal employees carrying out lawful enforcement orders in high-stress, unpredictable environments. From Scott's perspective, protecting officers' safety while an independent internal review takes place is not a cover-up. It is basic duty of care. Rushing to publish identities in the middle of a media storm risks destroying innocent lives and corrupting the integrity of the investigation before all the facts are properly established on paper.
Months later, it was days later. And I think that particular incident, and I think we talked about it here, that was extraordinarily damaging because the statements of the officers in that case that came out right away were absolutely not true. Now, what also happened is the Department of Homeland Security and the White House immediately acknowledged it. They said it was a lie, and they said they were moving on disciplinary and I think other actions against the officers, which was also the right thing to do. But to Joe's point, just because this happened, and it is extremely regrettable when anyone dies, taking the side against the police officer in every single case is not right. They do have a right here. They have rights too. The people involved have rights. Everybody here has rights, but that doesn't stop at the cops.
I
they
think
have
that
rights, and they're in a very difficult situation.
I think that that's right, but you have to acknowledge that, let's think back to Minnesota, for example. The White House and the administration prejudged those cases. Yeah. They made it very clear they were not going to investigate, that the victims,
they call them domestic
that the
terrorists
victims were perpetrators. So they prejudged those cases, and I think that's one of the reasons why there is so much of a push for more accountability, because they stay silent and then they denigrate the victims.
In the final stretch of this debate, host Abby Phillip turns to panelist Cari Champion, who pivots the conversation away from individual personalities and refocuses on systemic institutional accountability. Cari cuts through the back and forth between the desk by arguing that focusing exclusively on whether to name an individual officer distracts from the far bigger issue, the agency's underlying field tactics and operational protocols. Cari points out that simply releasing or withholding a name on a piece of paper does nothing to prevent the next tragic encounter if high-risk traffic stops and aggressive field maneuvers remain standard procedure. She emphasizes that true transparency requires structural reform from top leadership down, demanding clear rules of engagement, mandatory body camera mandates, and independent external review boards. Cari concludes that public trust will only be restored when the Department of Homeland Security holds itself accountable for the systemic policies that lead to these fatal moments in the first place. That brings us to the end of today's deep dive into this crucial debate. Don't forget to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to Top Debate Commentary for more sharp breakdowns of the biggest debates on television.